Hey y'all, welcome to another collection video. This time I decided to show off my PS1 collection. I've been meaning to do this for years, but now I finally had the time to go through them all. So you might as well get comfortable. This is going to be a long video. No more wasting time. Starting off with the long box games. Battle Arena to Shinden. While the Soul Calibur series has taken this franchise's place, Battle Arena to Shinden was the very first 3D fighting game where you can use weapons, and it shows. Because this game hasn't aged well. The gameplay is very clunky, the graphics are ugly, but the game was fun around the time that it came out. Also, it's not possible to save in this game. There's no option for a memory card or a password, so it loses points for that. One fighting game that aged better and gives you an option to save is Tekken. The case is cracked, but I bought it like that. And I also bought this the same day that Tekken 6 came out for the PSP. And check out this weird cover art, the alternate cover art where it shows Kazuya looking scary. And I still remember playing this for the first time back in the summer of 1996. I remember I chose Jack, and I remember losing. But it's funny how I still remember that after all these years. I had fun, I didn't know what I was doing. So some of my favorite memories with this game is getting to the end, unlocking the character's video, and even unlocking the secret character. A lot of games weren't doing that back then. This game made it cool. In a way, it was revolutionary. One game that isn't revolutionary is Street Fighter the movie, the game. This game is so bad that it's good. I got this back in 2013 and I paid $8 for this. I can't believe how much it goes for today. It's way overpriced. And yes, the case is broken just like Tekken was. And I didn't know the receipt was still in here. Anyway, I like playing with Chun-Li and Sawada. And I remember some handsome devil recently uploaded a video of a Chun-Li and Sawada playthrough. So you should definitely check that out if you have the time. This is Street Fighter's attempt of becoming Mortal Kombat, and it's just terrible. A few frames of animations are missing when the characters do their moves. Controls are awkward. Not a very good fighting game in my opinion. It probably has the hardest fight against Akuma ever. So Loaded is a top-down shooter where you go from room to room, killing everything in sight. It's very violent. There are 6 playable characters. I always like playing with the only female in the game, Blox, because she can move around quicker. I haven't beat this game yet. I got stuck on stage 3. Well, I should say I gave up on stage 3 because the gameplay got too repetitive. The music in this game is great. It's EDM, and it actually goes great with all the killings that take place in the game. And I swear I'll come back to this game someday and beat it completely. This game is perfect for psychopaths, while this next game is perfect for aggressive drivers. Road Rash. So this is a motorcycle racing game where it's 2D sprites over a 3D background. You can kick, club, punch your opponents. I think there's 5 races every difficulty. And there are FMVs that plays. And it's funny to watch how these scenes play out depending on how you finish the races. If you finish in first place, it's funny. If you finish in last place, it's funny. You can definitely tell this game was made in the 90s. As well as his next game, Zero Divide. This is a 3D polygonal fighting game where you fight as robots. In my opinion, it's on the same level as the first Tekken game. It never gets brought up in conversations regarding the best fighting games on the system. There are ring outs, but before you can get a ring out, they give you a chance to climb back up, save yourself, which I thought was neat. I never came across any other game that does that. Well, besides the sequel. Fun fact, that shoot 'em up with the horrible box art, Phalanx, is actually playable in this. So you're actually getting 2 games in one. Frames, power, money. That's right, baby, I'm talking A-Train. This is a game where you can build a railroad system. It's kind of like SimCity with the emphasis on trains. You can actually take a ride in the train, first-person view mode. I didn't play it that much because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Apparently you can buy and sell land. You can invest in the stock market, is what I'm reading on the back. And it takes 16 blocks of memory card space. I didn't know that. Maybe I should put some more time into this game. This game and the next one. But it's so hard. Possibly one of the most hardest games on this system is Rayman. So I got this game thinking it would be an easy children's game. Boy, was I wrong. Well, first, it's easy in the beginning, but once you get to this level called Bandland, the difficulty ramps up to 10. And no, I'm not kidding. I looked this game up online and it seems to have a reputation of it being hard, and I didn't know this before getting it. And to this day, I can't get past this Bandland level. I heard it's one of those games where you have to collect everything, because without all of the items, you won't be able to go to the final boss level. This game is so hard that in comparison, what game came out around this time? Lion King. Yes, it makes the Lion King look easy, which I gladly played over this. ESPN Extreme Games is very similar to Road Rash, which I just showed you. Instead of racing on motorcycles, you can choose a bike, skateboard, rollerblades, or even a street luge. And you can earn cash to upgrade your equipment. It's an okay game. The sequels are better, which I will get into in a little while. Mortal Kombat 3 at one point was my favorite game ever. Although it didn't have Scorpion, it did have what ended up being my favorite character, Cyrax. I never learned how to do the complicated combos. I just learned how to do one or two moves with each of the characters, with Cyrax being my favorite by far. And I kind of wish they would go back to the digitized graphics, because this is one of my favorite fighting games growing up. Also, this is my very first Mortal Kombat game where I beat the arcade mode. Street Fighter Alpha. This game is so classic. I can still hear the character selection theme in my head. But this game's story takes place before Street Fighter 2, the characters are a little bit younger, and the fighting system is more refined in my opinion. Now, this game was a blast. My favorite characters was, of course, Chun-Li and Nash, aka Charlie. And just like Mortal Kombat 3, I never learned how to do the combos. Just learned a few key moves to get me to the next round. Battle Arena to Shinden 2 is mostly the same as the first game. The only difference is slightly better graphics. And this game didn't learn their lesson, because just like Shinden 1, it did not have a save feature. So any characters you can unlock, their progress didn't get saved. Gaia, who's on the cover on the left fighting Sophia, is one of those characters you can unlock. You either have to do an arcade run or you can put in cheat codes, but I didn't feel like doing that every time I boot up the game. And this game has a beautiful cover, one of my favorite cover arts of all times. Johnny Bazooka Tone is a 3D side-scrolling platformer. He's equipped with a bazooka type weapon, and he has to fight skeletons for some reason to get his guitar back that was stolen from him. And just like Rayman, this game is so hard. The difficulty starts on the first stage. I was barely able to pass it, and level 2 is the furthest that I've ever got. I never will find out if he got his guitar back or not. And let me tell you, this game has a groovy soundtrack. It's jazzy, it's funky. Go watch the intro of this game, because it slaps. Wipeout is a futuristic racing game that I was never good at. I think the best I could do was 6th place. When you race, there's techno music playing that matches the futuristic setting. I think there are 4 teams you can select. Each have their own strengths and weaknesses, and there are power-ups you can use while racing. Even though I was bad at this game, I still had fun with it. So the last long box game I have to show off is Nova Storm. This is a 3D space shooter or shoot 'em up. But what makes this game unique is that it comes on 2 discs. Dang, this case is broken too. I'm barely past the first stage, so I don't know what's on the second disc. During gameplay, this game has FMVs, sort of like Sega CD. I wonder if this game was released for the Sega CD. Played it a bit, but I wasn't able to get very far. It's an okay game. Okay, now we're getting into the first jewel case, and it is 2 Extreme. This is a sequel to ESPN Extreme Games that I showed you earlier. Once again, this is a racing game where you can punch and kick your way into first place. You can ride a bike, skateboard, do inline skates, and instead of street luging, they replaced it with snowboarding. It's a tad bit better as far as controls. I prefer skateboarding, and I never chose snowboarding, and I have no idea why. Just preference, I suppose. 3 Extreme is more or less the same. The only difference is that it got rid of snowboarding, so now it's just skating, BMX, and skateboarding. Everything is in fully 3D. It's a tad bit easier. I bumped into less obstacles in 3 Extreme than the other 2 games, but it didn't really improve the series as a whole. And this is the last entry in the Extreme series. I'm curious to see what a 4 Extreme would have looked like. Here's a classic. Ape Escape. This is a game where you have to catch a bunch of apes. They're led by a white ape named Spectre, and you have to use these crazy gadgets to catch them all. There's a stunt club, a RC car, hula hoop that makes you run faster so you can run into them. There's a boxing glove and a bunch of other crazy gadgets that you can use. Oh, and the net that you have to use to actually catch them. It was fun experimenting with all the gadgets to see which works best, and this is one of my favorite games on the system. Backstreet Billard is a pool game. Well, it can be considered a visual novel too. You play as a character in first-person view mode, and you're searching for your legendary father, who was also a pool player. You go from location to location, beating enemies at pool and learning clues about your father and where you could possibly find him. And I have no idea why it comes in this big case. It's just a one-disc game. Anyways, I still haven't beat this game. I'm stuck on this one opponent called One. They hardly ever miss whenever they make a shot, and I kind of gave up on it, to be honest. Okay, well, I showed the first two games in the series. Now this is Battle Arena to Shinden 3. This is an arcade fighting game, an improvement over the first two games. For one, you can finally save your progress. It does have a memory card option. And two, the characters. I believe you start off with 14 playable characters, but as you play through arcade mode, you can eventually unlock 32 characters. And I remember there being a Michael Jackson type of character. He can moonwalk and everything. Now the health bars and time limit are at the bottom, and when you do your super moves, there are flashing lights, so beware if you have sensitive eyes. I streamed this without knowing that, and I almost gave my chat a seizure. Good times. Here's a game that no one hardly talks about, Blockheads. This is basically Breakout. I believe this game came out in the late 90s in Japan, but ended up coming out in 2003 in the US. What makes this game unique is you can change the view of gameplay, but in my opinion, it makes it more challenging and kind of hinders your view. Yeah, so if you like Breakout or Breakaway, whatever you call it, then you should definitely play this. Alright, so we have another fighting game here, Bloody Roar. This is a one-on-one versus fighting game where you can pick a character and they can transform into a beast or an animal. I used to pick Long, who can transform into a tiger. There's also a character that turns into a wolf, a bunny, who's kind of OP, and a mole. And when you transform into an animal, you become stronger and you get to use new combos. I used to play this with my neighbor back in the day, and it was very fun. This is a very good game. But you know what's even better? Bloody Roar 2. I kid you not, Bloody Roar 2 is one of the best PS1 fighting games. There were new characters in this sequel. There was someone that can turn into a leopard, a bat, a chameleon, and Stun the Insect, who is on the disc. I used to play with Stun because he had wrestling moves, and I was big into wrestling. And I think the character's last name is actually Goldberg. I used to have fun with both of these games. It's very satisfying when you land your combo because you can send your enemy flying through a wall and win the round because of a ring out. And I wish they would make a new Bloody Roar. They haven't made a new Bloody Roar game since 2003. But Bloody Roar 2 remains my favorite in the series. So this next game's price went up because of Metal Jesus Rocks did a review on it, but I think the price has come down since then. This is Board Game Top Shop. This is basically Monopoly in a mall. You go from mall to mall buying property and you try to get the opponents to land on your property, so they have to pay you money. And the stage ends when you hit a certain threshold, when you make a certain amount of money. And I always like playing with the cat in blue. I forgot his name. I like the cat because they're mischievous, like me. And I like to add that this is a perfect game to play during a rainy day. Bomberman World. You played Bomberman before, right? This is pretty standard as far as Bomberman games go. And I can't tell you how many times that I've killed myself in game of the bomb traps that I laid out trying to get the enemy, but I ended up killing myself in the end. The bosses take a lot of hits. They can take a lot of damage, and plus some of them have phases, which kind of annoyed me. What is this egg game right here? Never played that. Anyway, Bomberman World is pretty fun. Go get it. What I'm about to show you now is one of the best PS1 games ever. Brave Fencer Musashi. This game is simply amazing. This is an action RPG from Squaresoft. You play as a chibi-style samurai named Musashi, and you have to save a kingdom. Check it out. And it also comes with a Final Fantasy VIII demo disc. Anyways, you wield two swords, one that's primarily used for attacking and stealing the enemy's moves so you can progress through the game, and another sword that you can use to clear the field. You only get like one hit, but it's really powerful. In this game, you can never get bored. You're always doing something different, whether it's fighting enemies, platforming, taking a log ride down a waterfall. Hell, there's even bowling in this. You can bowl your enemies, kill them, collect action figures. It sounds crazy, but it's very fun. It's a memorable title, and I'm glad to have this in my collection. The next game is a turn-based RPG, Breath of Fire 4. So you play as Ryu, a man with amnesia that has the ability to transform into dragons. And this game's story is so messed up, a lot of bad things happen. I don't want to spoil it, but it's still a good story. And this game looks great. Graphic-wise, it kind of reminds me of the sprites and backgrounds used in Street Fighter 3. It's from Capcom after all. Oh, and I forgot to say that you can also play as the main antagonist, Fulu, as his story is connected to the main characters. And I remember getting lost a lot in this game. There's a canal level, and it took me a while to figure out where I needed to go. But that's all. It's a great RPG, and you need to play it if you haven't already. So have you ever wanted to play a game where you can race on a giant bug? Well, here you go. This is Bug Riders. To be honest, I didn't enjoy this game. This game is bad. The controls are terrible. You pick a rider and their bug and you race. There's a story that goes along with it, but it really doesn't matter. All you need to know, you just need to win by getting first place. But I gave up on it since the controls are so bad. Moving on to the next game. Now here's a better racing game. Burning Road. This is a arcade style racing game. I believe there's like 3 courses: beginner, intermediate, and hard. You know, just like they have at the arcades. You can tell the game's announcer had fun saying their lines. Depending on how you finish a race, their emotions range from enthusiastic to disappointment. If you finish in first place, they're all happy and excited for you. But if you finish in last place, it's like they're embarrassed.
You came in first! Oh yeah, you suck. You came in last.
What I recently found out, the US version has a different soundtrack than the Japan version. Kind of like how they did with Sonic CD, but both of the soundtracks are great. This game. Breakout 2000. You played Breakout before, right? But there's a twist with this one. There's a story mode. You see, you play with this red L block right here. And he's just chilling on the beach with his girlfriend. His girlfriend gets kidnapped, and it's our job to get her back. And along with a story mode, there's also a multiplayer mode, aka 2-player mode, and there is a challenge mode where you can do missions. It's a pretty good game. And now we have the most realistic fighting games ever, perhaps. Bushido Blade and Bushido Blade 2. There are no time limits, there are no health bars, it's just you and your opponent fighting to the death. This is a weapon-based fighting game series where you have to rely on skill or luck. I haven't played Bushido Blade, but I did play Bushido Blade 2. So I've had Bushido Blade 2 for years, but I just picked up Bushido Blade not too long ago. Their primary weapons are swords, but it is possible to wield guns. I haven't figured out how to unlock that yet, but I imagine them both being similar to each other. With a well-timed short strike to the heart or to the head, you can end the round in one hit. And if you stab someone's arm, they won't be able to use that arm anymore. Same with the leg. It's possible to have your opponent hobbling on one leg, all while defending themselves. It's a sight to see. I will say you are as vulnerable as your opponent, yet on an equal level playing field at the same time. Now this next game is based off of an anime, and it's Gundam Battle Assault 2. I don't have the first game in the series, but this is a 2D fighting game that plays a lot like Street Fighter, where you take control of Gundams. I only played through arcade mode once, and let me tell you, it was hard. The final boss wasn't so hard, it was the mid boss. I forgot their name, but they use a big green Gundam, and they do triple the amount of damage, and I think they have 5 or 6 health bars, while you're stuck with a measly 3, and you use that up so fast. I had to cheese my way to victory by letting the clock run out. Each Gundam you use plays differently, and there are more characters you can unlock, so there is replay value. If you like Gundams, anime, and fighting games, then I recommend this one. Did y'all know I like rhythm games? Because I do have Busta Groove and Busta Groove 2. This is a one-on-one versus dance rhythm game series where you have to score higher than your opponent. There are special jammer moves that you can perform to prevent your opponent from dancing. You knock them down, and you have a chance to do more dance moves that'll net you a higher score. The characters you can select from are colorful and crazy. There's a race car driver, a guy that eats a lot of hamburgers, a little girl that hangs out with a mouse, a zombie, and aliens that know capoeira. Depending on whose stage you're dancing in, you're dancing to their theme songs, and their songs match their personalities so well. And there's not a bad song in these two games at all. I still listen to the soundtracks of both games, and if you ever heard the Natural Playboy song, which is Hero's theme, well, this is where it originated from.
Capcom presents
Capcom versus SNK Pro. Basically, this is Street Fighter versus King of Fighters. You have every popular Street Fighter character and Morgan from Darkstalkers versus King of Fighter characters. You can select a team consisting of up to 4 characters. I usually went with Chun-Li, King, and then I picked 2 random characters. It was pretty cool to see SNK characters go up against Capcom characters for the first time. On the back of the cover, you can see Kyo punching Ryu in the gut. Classic moment right there. I played this a little bit, but I ended up playing Capcom vs. SNK 2 a little bit more. So both are great games. You can't go wrong with either. But they should have been released Capcom vs. SNK 3 by now. There are tons of new Capcom and SNK characters that I want to see mix it up. And before I forget, the Final Fight theme in this game goes ham. Even though there's not a Final Fight character you can play with in this game, but what can you do? Castlevania Symphony of the Night. What can I say about this game? Not much, because I haven't even played it yet. Don't flame me. I'll play this soon. I've had this game for a couple of years and I haven't even touched it. The reason why is because I've seen people on Twitch stream this regularly, and I'm kind of getting the experience watching others play it, but eventually I will experience it myself by playing it firsthand. And maybe I'll find out what a man is. What is a man? Cool Borders. It took me a while to find this game, because when you search this on eBay, all the other Cool Borders games pop up first. And it doesn't help, oops, and it doesn't help that they're priced higher than what I would actually pay for it. And I didn't even get it off of eBay. I got it from a yard sale for like $10, which is a win. Anyway, this is a very basic snowboarding game. I believe there are 5 courses you can speed through to get the quickest time. It's very simple, very basic. There's not much to do in this game, and I didn't play this for too long because I had fun with the other Cool Borders game I'm about to show you. Cool Borders 2 and Cool Borders 4. I forgot I had 4. Anyway, Cool Borders 2 used to be my jam. You can edit your board, you can unlock more characters, there are more courses, there's a special trick mode, there's a practice mode. They just improved on everything that was in the first game. In every way. It was great at its time, but today the controls are very stiff, very clunky. By the time SSX came out, it killed the Cool Borders series. I don't even have Cool Borders 3, but I have Cool Borders 4. I can't even remember where I got this, but I haven't even played this yet, so I won't say too much about this. Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. This is my very favorite Crash Bandicoot game, because of how easy it is compared to the other games in the series. Just like Cool Borders 2 was an improvement over the original Cool Borders, Crash 2 is a hell of a lot better than the original Crash Bandicoot. And I found myself playing it for many years. It's a classic platformer and it's one of PlayStation's best. And so is his next game, Crash Bandicoot Warped. Notice the white label. I got the collector's editions. I found that randomly at a yard sale. This is arguably the best platformer on the system. There's a lot of variety in the stages. You can fly a plane, ride a motorcycle, ride a wave bike. You can play as Crash Bandicoot's sister, Coco, in some of these levels. And it's a great time. It's an awesome game. And I think there's a Spyro the Dragon demo on this disc as well. Crash Bash is a party game where you can select any Crash Bandicoot character and compete in a series of mini games. You can play for the first time, mind you, as the bad guys, Neo Cortex, Tiny Tiger, and an orangutan for some reason. I still remember getting this brand new at Kmart with my birthday money. I played it a lot, but I never beat it, and I used to kill it at the Pogo minigame stages. If you played this before, you probably know what I'm talking about. Anyways, Crash Team Racing is a kart racer and one of the best racing games on the PlayStation. I played this quite a bit, especially during the summer of 2000. I used to play with the polar bear all the time, and my favorite stage was Polar Pass, the snow level. Nobody could beat me on that track. I beat this game 100%, and it was a wild ride, literally. And it's one of the best Crash Bandicoot games in the series. And it was the last good Crash Bandicoot game for a while, up until the remake or the reboot. Beyblade, Let It Rip. It's a game based off the television series, which I never watched. The reason why I got this is because I bought a lot of PS1 games. This is one of the games that was in it, but it wasn't one of the games that I wanted to play. It was just cheaper to get the lot rather than the game by itself. I'll show you what the game is later on. I tried playing this game. I wasn't good at it. I lost each time. It's a game where you battle spinning tops. I did like the announcer when they said, what a great launch. The announcer makes it sound so exciting, but then I lose. I didn't lose too much at this next game, Chocobo Racing. This is another kart racer where you take some of your favorite Final Fantasy characters, put them in go-karts and skates, and let them race in this storybook kind of world. Squall, Cloud, and a Behemoth was also playable in this, but I only like playing with the chubby Chocobo. Yeah, fat Chocobo for the win. I didn't play it that much as I was a Crash Team Racing kind of guy, but this is a decent game. Cubics, Robots for Everyone, Racing Robots. As you can probably guess, it's another racing game, and you race as one of these robots, which isn't very good in my opinion. You're racing at a weird top-down angle, and it kind of makes it hard to see what's coming up next. You'll probably end up bumping into the wall. This is one of those games that I got in a lot that I told you about before. I just wanted to try it to see if it's any good or not, and it's not. There are better racers out there, and apparently this game is based on a TV show that I never heard of. Destrega is a fighting game most people never heard of. It's a fighting game, and it sort of reminds me of the Dragon Ball Z games that came out for the PS2 and Xbox. There is a story mode you can play through, and there's bad voice acting. If you played through the recent Tekken, Mortal Kombat, and Street Fighter game story mode, this plays the same way. In fact, I think it started with this. You go through a story mode and you play with different characters and watch the story mode play out. Oh, and it also has bad voice acting. There is a 2-player mode and arcade ladder. This game will be the perfect game to rent from Blockbuster back in the day since it's so short and you can unlock everything. And it's from the people that made Dynasty Warriors. And what do you know? I happen to have a copy of Dynasty Warriors right here. This is a one-on-one fighting game. In fact, this is the only one-on-one fighting game in the whole Dynasty Warriors series. This game kind of reminds me of a cross between Tekken 2 and Soul Blade. The characters you can play as are based on individuals that existed in the Han Dynasty, like Lubu, Nobunaga, and Lu Xun. Each character has their own fighting style and unique weapon. And yes, there are character endings when you beat the arcade ladder, so there is a replayability factor in this game. And I wouldn't mind seeing Koei make another one of these fighting games for Dynasty Warriors. This one was pretty fun. I remember playing this at a friend's house. We spent the whole afternoon playing against each other and trying to lock all the characters in their ending. So how many of y'all can dance? Because I have the original Dance Dance Revolution. I have the dance mat somewhere in my closet. I don't feel like taking it out. And let me tell you, I am not good at dancing. You can play either using the dance mat and move your feet to the beat, or like I did most of the time, moving my thumbs on the D-pad while I was using the controller. Let's see. My favorite songs to dance to or move my thumb to was the Olivia Project, Have You Ever Been Mellow, and Uzi Lay, Put Your Faith in Me. Those are my jams. Causing much mayhem, dropping drama is what I did. I admit I didn't play this game that much, well, at least not as much as his next game. This is Dance Dance Revolution Konamics, and this is the one who had Let the Beat Hit 'Em by the Stone Brothers. I used to dance to that song a whole bunch, but it's pretty much the same gameplay as the Dance Dance Revolution game as before. And no, I did not forget about Dance Dance Revolution Disney Mix. I believe I still have the receipt still in the case. It probably won't be picked up on camera as well, but it's a 2002 receipt from Funkoland. No, it's not showing up as good. This game has updated versions of classic Disney music like the Mickey Mouse Club theme song, It's a Small World, and the Julie Andrews classic, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Do you know how many takes it took me to say that correctly? And I don't even think I still said that correctly. Anyway, and it does have a few popular songs that was in the previous DDR games I just showed you, and the background animations are really neat. So if you ever wanted to see Pluto throw that ass in a circle or hear an electronic dance mix of It's a Small World after all, then you should definitely pick this one up. Okay, no more DDR games. Let's get into something else. Darkstone. This is a RPG. It kind of reminds me of Diablo, and I didn't play this game that much. I didn't know what I was doing, and I died pretty fast. I remember getting this from a yard sale for like $4, but I should definitely put some time into this, try to figure this game out, because it does look fun. Now, the game that invented jiggle physics, or at least made it cool, Dead or Alive, aka DOA, is a one-on-one versus fighting game. I have a lot of these, by the way, so get used to it. There's boobies bouncing everywhere. It's in 3D. There is an option to turn jiggle physics off, but playing DOA without jiggle physics is like playing Mortal Kombat without blood. It's similar to Virtua Fighter. There are ring outs, there are danger zones that cause damage and make you bounce, and your opponent can juggle you in the air and cause extra damage. The characters that I like playing with were Bayman and Yane, and it's a pretty good franchise that's still around today. And I wish I can say the same thing about this next game. Devil Dice. Devil Dice is a puzzle game where you play as a baby devil. You're riding on top of a dice, and you have to roll to another dice that matches up with the corresponding number. Yeah, it sounds bizarre, but it's very fun and addictive. When I first tried this game, I was only going to try it for a couple of minutes, then all of a sudden 2 or 3 hours passed by without me even noticing. Have you ever heard of the Tetris effect? Not the game, when you start seeing the Tetris shapes or patterns in your dreams. Well, the same thing happened to me with this game. I started seeing dice whenever I closed my eyes, but I soon got over that. This is probably my favorite puzzle game on the system. Sorry, Tetris. But yeah, I love me some Devil Dice, even though most people forgot about it. You can say the same thing about this next game, Dragon Valor. This is a hack and slash with RPG elements from Namco. The reason why I say it's forgotten is because it came out the same year as another popular Namco game. I'm talking about Tekken Tag Tournament for the PS2. So this is a 3D side-scrolling hack and slash game that has 2 discs. At the end of each chapter, you have to find and kill a dragon. Yeah, so after you slay the dragon, it's possible to change your destiny. Literally, like you can save your future baby mama or daddy from the dragon, and they'll have a kid who will end up becoming a future dragon slayer. Then their offspring will do the same, and you'll end up beating the game with them. This game has 3 possible endings, I think, but I've only seen 1. But I'm sure I'll be playing this game again soon. It doesn't take long at all to beat this game. I wish I can say the same thing about this next game. Dragon Warrior 7, aka the game that never ends. This game may be the longest ever on the PS1. It took me around 130 hours to beat it. So the events that takes place in the main storyline should have been side quests, but they weren't, and you had to play through each and every one of them to beat the game. Also, you had to level up certain classes so you can learn new attacks, so you can even stand a chance against some of these bosses, which made it longer. Not to mention the backtracking that you'll have to do. This game starts off real slow, but gets better as time goes on. It has 2 discs, well, 2 long discs, and some of the storylines should have been side quests, although I did enjoy most of the main storyline. The dungeons were fun, enemies were challenging. Yeah, it's a pretty good game, good RPG. Oh, here's one of my favorites, Ur Guys. So Ur Guys is a 3D one-on-one fighting game. And as you can see, it has a few Final Fantasy characters. There's Cloud right here. It also has Yuffie, Sephiroth, and it has original characters. I always used to like playing with Prince Doza, Yoko, and Sasuke the Ninja was pretty cool. Although mainly a fighting game, it also has other modes, like there is this dungeon crawler RPG mode and a few other mini games like racing and battle panel, but I was never good at those mini games. I've had this game for years, but I finally beat the RPG mode for the first time a couple years ago, and it froze right after I beat the boss. So yeah. Otherwise, I definitely enjoyed this game. If you like platformers, don't sleep on The Emperor's New Groove. Excuse me, Disney's The Emperor's New Groove. You gotta say the whole thing. Because it is very challenging. Well, it's easy at first, but when you get to the last chapter of the game, it is very likely for you to see that game over screen. This game is very humorous, just like the movie it's based off on. The characters break the fourth wall all the time when they teach you how to play the game. And I think everybody voiced their characters in this game as they did the movie, except for David Spade. It might have been an imitator, but they did a pretty good job. This one level with the roller coaster got on my nerves so much I had to keep restarting that. Otherwise, all the levels are fun. So Extreme Go-Kart Racing is a low-budget racing game. I got it for like $5 at a yard sale. I didn't play this for long as it didn't have too many modes in it. I think it had like 3 racing modes, like Grand Prix, Time Attack, and 2-player, I think. When I did play this, I chose this cactus. So any game where you can race as a cactus is a-okay in my book. Fatal Fury Wild Ambition is a 3D fighting game. I think this is the very first 3D Fatal Fury / King of Fighters game that is in 3D. And this game is okay. Geese, the boss that you see on the cover here, is so hard. I remember it took me almost an hour to beat him on the hardest difficulty. I did like playing with Capcom and the new character that was introduced, Sugumi. I believe this game was released around the time that Street Fighter went 3D for the first time, the EX series, and I think Street Fighter did it better. Fighting Force is so fun. This is a beat 'em up that was supposed to be Streets of Rage 4, but they just went with a different name. There are 4 playable characters, and I think the same people that made this game made the Tomb Raider games, the early one. What I liked about this game is that you can use anything as a weapon. Guns, bazookas, even soda cans that came out of the machine, you can throw them at the enemy. This game was very ambitious when it came out originally. I used to play the mess out the demo. Even though I have the full game, I haven't beat it yet. I'm just waiting for a second player to play it with. Fighter Maker is a fighting game that was also ambitious because you can create a fighter and design their moveset. Although I never took the time to do that. There is an arcade mode that I used to play because I never finished creating my character and setting them up with moves. One thing to note, this manual is thick AF. I got bored with it. I think that's why I never got around to finishing my character. I didn't feel like reading that thick manual. Also, Skullomania is in this from the Street Fighter EX series, also Fighting Layer. Well, one of these days I'm going to sit down and make my character, read through this long manual and set my character up with some moves and make them OP. Well, that does it for part 1 of my PS1 collection. Keep an eye out for part 2 as that will be coming soon. And STFM, stay tuned for more.